Hello and welcome to Gen Exercise. The last lecture we were dealing with the key terminologies of taxation in India. In that series, today we are going to understand about tax cliff and fiscal drag. Fiscal cliff or tax cliff and fiscal drag. To understand this term, you need to go through the subprime crisis of US in 2008. What we already have learned about, isn't it? In 2008, US faced a subprime crisis, and so the word, right? And because of that crisis, US want to revive its economy, and they have various methods to revive the economy. For example, what they did, they dropped their interest rate, that is Fed cut. They declined their repo rate, the kind of repo rate they follow. Okay. Apart from this monetary policy, they adopted another policy, that is fiscal policy. And what kind of fiscal policy they adopted? That they gave heavy tax cuts. Two heavy tax cuts. For example, they said if you were paying tax of 30% earlier, now you have to pay only 10%. A very high amount of tax cut US Congress and Senate gave to the people. Why they did so? To promote the monetary policy or simply liquidity in the economy. Okay, but these tax cuts were with this sunset clause. What does this mean? This was for a limited time period. For example, this tax cut ended on 31st of March 2012, after nearly 4 years. Okay, now try to understand this situation when suddenly in the economy government decided to increase the taxes after this, right? Earlier you were paying 30%, now you will pay 10%, and after 3 years suddenly when you awake on a beautiful morning you get to know that now I have to pay again 30%. Are you guys getting my point? Not only that, with this government adopted the contractionary monetary policy also. It means government decided to cut on their expenditure. On the one hand, government is going to cut their expenditure so that there will be no more money for the welfare. And on the other hand, your tax rates are high now. The double burden on the people of US. Okay, this sudden situation is known as fiscal. When from a very long time of tax cuts, when you suddenly gets a too much rise in tax in single day, that is known as fiscal cliff. It means this is a negative situation for people. Here they will face lots and lots of liquidity crisis. Okay, I hope you understand. Yes, good. Government decided to cut the tax in 2008 to increase the liquidity. After 3-4 years, in 2012, there is enough liquidity in the market, and because of that, there were high inflation. Right? To curtail this inflation, to control this inflation, what government did? They simply stopped government spending and increased your tax. Right? So it is a sudden burden on the people of US, and that situation is known as fiscal. This was not because of Fed tapering or Fed cut. The crisis was because of subprime loans. The loan we granted to the subprime borrowers who didn't have the capacity to pay back. That was the reason of crisis. And the biggest company to lose was Lehman Brothers. I hope you understand. So, to understand fiscal cliff, you must know about subprime crisis, because these two terms are interrelated. And if you understand about fiscal cliff, then we'll jump to fiscal drag. Now, what is fiscal drag? Let's suppose your earning is 2,90,000 in a year. Will you fall under any tax slab? No, because in India, until you earn 3 lakh, you are tax free. After your earnings goes up to 3 lakh and above, then you have to pay 5%, right? What if due to inflation, it's not real income, but due to inflation, where money lost its values? Due to inflation, if your amount, your income goes up to 3.1 lakh, might be possible due to inflation, sir. Value loses its money, right? Money loses its value. Okay, so it is not actually growth in your income. It is just a nominal growth because of inflation. But you fall under tax slab now. You have to pay 5%. It means you have to pay 15,000 as tax without any real income growth. Okay, this situation is known as fiscal drag. Drag, it means खींचना. When inflation drags you in a taxable slab, that is known as fiscal. Okay, both situations are not good for, but they both are good for government. Why? In fiscal drag, the income of government will increase, right? In fiscal cliff, the expenditure of government will decrease. Are you guys getting my point? So the two situations are favorable for government and they are against the general public. Then this is